These are the experts on overhead crane systems, and we're kind of here to talk today about some of the hidden costs of crane ownership.
What's up, guys? My name is Devon and welcome to The Table. Myself and Mike flew all the way to Florida to FHS to meet with Todd and Matt. Would you guys kind of just take a second to say what you do and why you do it?
Yes, I'm Todd Wall with FHS. I pretty much kind of oversee everything here at the Bartow office and throughout the Southeast.
My name's Matt McDonald. I'm a project manager and sales team coordinator. My first goal is to make sure that the project managers and sales people don't kill each other. But more specifically, once we get a job, we do the estimating, we do the costing, and then once a proposal turns into a project, we go out and do the final measurements and then coordinate ordering materials, get it on site until the job is completed.
Awesome. And then, of course, Mike Close. What do you do? Why are you here?
In marketing, work with Devon, sit next to Devon, deal with all his bad jokes all day. And
Hurtful.
And we're here to talk to these guys. These are the experts on overhead crane systems, and we're kind of here to talk today about some of the hidden costs of crane ownership and what some things you might need to keep in mind if you're designing a new system, and also the cost of ownership if you install a new system in your facility.
And what we found out from talking to some of the people that work for our company is that there are times where people will completely miss something that they have to pay for, foundation pouring or something like that, and we don't want a hidden cost like that to come out of nowhere and really screw up what you're trying to do. We want to be as transparent as possible. So.
Sure. Maybe let's start at the very beginning. Maybe you're buying your first overhead crane system.
Right.
What are some of the considerations that may be additional costs, maybe additional services or testing of your building that may need to be performed?
That's a good question. First off, you're going to need to make sure it can support the load if you're going to do any kind of bracing to the building or support off the building. Even if it's laterally tied to the building, there's a load that goes into that steel, and so it has to have a certain amount of capability of supporting that load. Next to that would be the concrete. So many people just think, okay, you can put a crane column here or whether it's a jib or any kind of crane, without really doing the due diligence of finding out, okay, what's that concrete capable of supporting? Mm-hmm. In a lot of cases, depending upon the capacity and several other factors, they're going to have to put footers in.
So if you get there and you know that there's an issue at that level, is that something that we come in to fix, or is that up to them to kind of fix and maintain, or where does the ownership start with all that?
Either way, we have taken it turnkey and done the footers, the engineering, or from the engineering, the permitting, the whole 9 yards. Typically, we would say, hey, find out what this is going to be. Maybe they hire an engineer, they have somebody, or we can provide that engineering service to them to come up with and find out what has to happen to that building or to the foundations before we ever continue forward with the project.
Yeah.
Ideally, what would be great is if we could get a copy of the original building design drawings, and then that way it makes it so much more easier for us to engineer it on site as opposed to having to go out and take all the dimensionals of the building itself. Because we have the capabilities, but obviously it makes it much more easier, much more cost effective if we have the building
better
drawings.
information we have, you're right. Absolutely.
So is there any of that stuff that we request up front? Hey, we're going to come out and try to get you a crane, but can you get us your building drawings, your structural stuff, your anything like that? Do we request any of that stuff, or is it just questions that we ask when we get there?
We do. Usually it's once we get there and we start walking through the facility. We're gonna kind of over or analyze and just kind of walk through and see what they have, what's the obstacles, what's interferences or obstructions. But at that time, we're going to probably ask for, I would say, any drawings they may have, whether it be of the foundation or the building, just for spans and a whole lot of information it provides.
How about on a new construction facility? So somebody comes and they get FHS involved in the early planning stages of designing a new facility or warehouse.
Those are the best,
Yeah.
because what we do is we get in touch right away with the metal building manufacturer, and they usually have forms that they need to fill out so they can calculate the crane loads into the building, And so they send us that paperwork, and we send them all of the crane loads, and then they can calculate their building from there. Then when we do our drawings, they send us the building drawings, and we can draw our crane right into their building, and it just makes it so much more easier.
Nice. Yeah, because that way there's no confusion on what they have or what their capabilities are.
Correct.
Good.
Ideally, you would want, and in some cases we get this, is you want to build the building around, you want the crane design before you even design the building, because you need to know what kind of coverage do they need. So you're going to have a hook from here to here. They may need an extra few feet and may make all the world of difference. So they need to widen that building just a little bit, because so you're basically building the building around the application of the crane.
How often
That's
does that
ideal.
happen?
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Not-
Well, you know, and that's a really good point that Todd makes, because it doesn't happen until after the fact, and then once once they call us, because we're kind of like, oh yeah, we got to get the crane guys involved, and they have workbenches that they want to have along the wall, and we would have said, geez, if we would have known that, maybe an underhung system would have been better than a top running system. Because they wanted more floor coverage, or they needed an X amount of lift, which is another one that just drives us crazy, because they've got all of things designed up inside the roof and everything, but they need 18 feet of hook height, and we've got 24 inches to put a crane and a hoist in there.
Right.
And so we're kind of the forgotten guys, and when in fact we should be the first ones that they consult.
You've got a new building, and you're all excited, and you're starting to lay it out, and you're going, hey, you know what would be cool? What if we put an overhead crane in here?
Yeah.
It'd go right here, look awesome.
Right.
And it's great, and your hook height is right here, so I think we got a problem.
Yeah.
You're just moving lunch boxes back and forth.
Exactly.
So it's always better for us to be like in the very beginning stages, in the planning stages.
And even too, when if it's a machine shop, they've ordered all these machines, and they want to get them in, and they want to get them piped in. Well, now all of a sudden you've got 40-foot runway beams that you've now got to weave through all of their machines and get up, and we say we're going to have to charge you extra, for the installation. Well, geez, that's not what you quoted. Well, that's because you didn't have the machines there. So it's really, really important to be at the forefront as far as getting to be the crane installer, because if you can get the crane in first, they can utilize the crane when they go to put those machines in on the floor. And it becomes a tool. They start using it before they even thought about production. They're using it to set up their shop.
So is that a standard practice to get your crane built in early enough to where you can use that for the rest of the construction of the
Is
building?
it standard practice?
Far from standard, but it does happen.
Okay.
And of course you have to have power there, so that sometimes is an issue.
Because if it's too early, there's no
power. Right, there's no power. But you can also use a generator to do that. So they can use it as a piece of equipment to install, and a lot of times they do.
So when people are putting in a crane, I mean, they're thinking about a specific production need, but it doesn't matter if they use it for something else that's much lower capacity than their application use, or does that affect duty cycle or anything like that?
As far as
Because when they're building the actual building.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, as long as they're not lifting something over the capacity, then they're good to go. You can lift anything up to that capacity as much as you want. And I would say that they're not going to overuse it, let's say, from a duty cycle perspective. It's not like they're going to be using it, 24 hours a day if it was designed to be used, half an hour a day. That's not going to happen.
And for me, I'm a hands-on guy, so if I'm learning something, I've got to spend time with it, I've got to work on it, and it seems like if you put in a new crane in this new building, and you want your operators to get proficient in it, it seems like it would be more beneficial for you to really let them use it to install your building, get everything else. So by the time your building is completely erected, you have very trained operators with this new piece of gear.
Well, you want to get them trained before you let them loose on the crane.
No.
Especially if you're bringing equipment in. I don't think I would want a new guy operating my crane bringing in $1 million piece of equipment. But I get it. Yes, they do need the training. They need to get comfortable with the cranes. But they would certainly want training before they do.
And one of the things you did bring up too is they do find additional uses for the cranes, because again, all it takes is one guy to throw his back out, and You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
now you got a workman's comp that, so they'll learn to use, they'll find new things for it, and the next thing you know, the bay over, the guys that are watching these guys use the crane over there, now they want one.
Right.
Now we're talking about installation. What are some of those hidden costs that can affect the installation of a crane system? You know, factors that you may not have considered, or
Access probably is the biggest factor. So, and that's from the fact of pulling into their facility all the way to getting out. So a lot of times you got to remember these cranes are long depending upon the span. So
yeah,
from turning radiuses and into that facility, how are you going to get into the facility as far as into the building itself, maneuver it inside there and get it erected. Headroom. You've got enough room for the crane to sit on the rails and still have the OSHA 3 inches of clearance. But can you actually pick it? Do you have enough headroom to pick the crane and be able to set it from inside,
Oh, sure.
or should you have left a panel off the building and they didn't leave a panel off the building? That comes in. That's a lot. That has a lot to do with the planning stages. So you have to communicate throughout that whole process of the project and make sure that everyone's on the same page, everyone's seen the dimensions, you've kind of walked through the installation prior to it ever happening, and then that you didn't miss any details going in. So
Is that on the installer or the project manager to do that walkthrough with their plant facility representative? This is where the crane's going to get through. Now we have to put it up. How are we going to raise it? I mean,
Well,
where does that happen?
It actually should start with the salesman.
Okay.
Because again, we want him, our goal is for him to picture how he's going to get this equipment into the building. For instance, we did a job up south of Ocala, 93-foot span crane, big huge door, back the truck in. The one thing that somebody didn't think about was how are you going to turn a 93-foot span crane into a fenced-in yard?
Yeah.
Okay, so salesman did a great job. Took the guy out there. He had 100-foot tape, and they actually walked like they had a 100-foot beam, and figured it out that they'd have to take out a panel
Okay.
of the fence in order to get it in. I mean, to me that was just phenomenal.
Absolutely,
That somebody thought that was thinking that ahead. But that's when it had to start. So the customer didn't get a surprise that he's going to have to spend $800 to have this piece of fence taken down and then have it put back in. It was already taken care of. So that's why I said you want your salesman right from the very beginning to think, how am I going to get this in there?
Right.
yeah, so you want to try to address all the potential hidden costs up front, and you really can't do that without visiting the site.
Right.
Kind of walking through what they have there, is there anything that changed between now and the time we're going to install this crane? This is a nice open area. Are you bringing stuff in? So without that, if you really you don't have the whole picture. And like Matt said, how do you quote the installation? So it's all about quoting too. So they want to know the real price. Of course, you tell them it's going to cost X amount to install it.
Yeah.
Without knowing all the information, then at the end you've got a dissatisfied customer when you say, well, it's going to be double. So you really want to find all this information out up front and be very transparent with the customer, just of how things need to go and how you foresee that happening.
well, and let's not forget too. I mean, you've got to get the crane to the facility, so there's freight costs involved too. And is that something that's always included on quotes?
We typically do, just as a standard, but there's a lot of people that don't, and it's overlooked sometimes when comparing, quotes.
Sure.
And so we kind of have to direct them, say, does it include, we have freight included, so they know that, and that someone else includes freight, because depending upon where it's coming from, that can be, or how large the crane is, it can be a significant cost.
Yeah.
So if somebody's watching this, they have a quote, it's specified, they're kind of going through it. I mean, is it line item detail where it says, this is labor, this is freight, this is whatever? Does it have it all on there, or is it just kind of a one solid number that's not really itemized?
Well, it depends. So for us, and it depends on the quote too, or how the customer asks for it. Typically, we'll put it in as one turnkey project
Okay.
amount. They may want it broken out between, the equipment, the installation, and the freight. And then there's times where, other people may just provide them a quote for the materials and installation turnkey, but down at the bottom it says FOB shipping point.
Okay.
So, there's some hidden costs there. I wouldn't say they're hidden, but, they needs to be pointed out sometimes because
We want to be as detailed and specific in our scope of work so there's no misunderstandings at the end.
Right.
Like, well, wait a minute, I thought you guys were doing that. Wait a minute, I thought you were doing that. One of the ones that comes up quite often is load tests and who's supplying the test weights. And the guy will say, well, I don't have anything but test weights. And the other one too is who runs the electrification from the disconnect switch up to the runway to tie in the electrical. And it's spelled out very specifically in our quote that that's a customer responsibility.
Okay.
So, but we want to make sure that the customer understands that. And that's why we want to
their
make
electrician understands that.
Right.
That he goes ahead, he runs it up there. If he
Right.
knows, he'll run it up there. It's not that big a deal.
Right, so it's just being detailed. We used to have a standard scope of work, but approximately, 5 or 6 years ago, we started really homing in on the fact of, hey, here's what we're doing. We're gonna deliver the crane, we're gonna unload it, we're gonna move it in, detail by detail by detail, and really be specific about what we're doing. So there was no hidden costs, no misunderstandings. We're still gonna run into an occasional one, but it's been much more beneficial for us doing it that way than just saying what we used to say was one lot installation.
Right.
I think another hidden cost, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, if I have to, install a crane through, one side of the building, I have to get it all the way over. If I have to shut down production for the facility just to get through for that day, is that a cost that people kind of consider, that they have to, this area of the building has to move somewhere else or just shut down until we're done?
It's a great point. So in a lot of cases, we end up installing it over a weekend so that we don't interfere with production or operations because, again, it makes perfect sense to pay the additional cost of a weekend installation when you compare it to the cost of shutting down a whole side of the plant or an operation of that plant for a day or even two. It's very predominant in paper mills to where the paper machines are running and they want to do work on what they call on the fly. A whole lot more difficult, but for them to shut that line down is super expensive.
Yeah.
So that's a huge consideration, or should be a huge consideration when you're looking at the cost.
Can you do any, as they're erecting the crane, putting up the runways, all that, can there be any production going around in that area, or does that have to be completely off limits?
No, there can be production. There cannot be personnel walking underneath. You have to tape everything off, but you can still work as long as you're not going to, cause, have any safety issues. You're not going to have any problem with, electrical maybe, but it's fine to work around production. It's more challenging to us because it's a little more time consuming, so it's a little more costly. But as long as you're not, putting anyone in danger, including our own people or the people that are working in the plant, or even equipment for that matter, you can do it.
So what if something goes wrong? Say they're doing the installation and something drops or something isn't bolted properly, or they have the wrong hoist, or they put on the hoist backwards or something weird, which I've seen before actually.
Unfortunately, I have to. On the wrong side of the crane.
Who eats that cost? Is that, do we say we're going to install this within 4 days? If we go into that 5th day, we eat the cost, or we're in total. How does that part go?
Good question. That's usually, if we let's just say we've estimated to take 4 days. Well, if it takes us 5 days and we've already quoted that installation, unless there was something that prompted or caused that extra fifth day that we had no control over, but yet the customer had control over, we would address it with them then and say, hey, we had these additional costs that were caused by X, Y, and Z that from the facility, and we'd like to discuss, those, taking care of those costs. If we just, underestimated how long it was going to take, then that's on us.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a T&M. Typically, it's a quoted job.
Correct.
So it's up to us to make sure we take all the necessary steps ahead of time. Like Matt was saying, you walk through it. You find out every piece of information. You sit down with the customer. You kind of tell them, here's what's going to happen. Here's how we foresee this going. Everyone agrees. They sign up on all the drawings. So that which way the hoist is oriented, which way the crane is oriented, and it is hopefully at that point it goes smoothly.
On the flip side, what if you show up and they're not ready?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask.
That never happens.
Yeah.
Really?
Weird.
No.
Because you've got all of the work that goes into not just building the crane, but then you got to get the crane on a flatbed. You got to get the truck to the facility. You got to get the crane on the truck. Then you've got delivery time, and you've got multiple flatbeds that are all rolling up at the same time. You've got your electricians there. You've got your installers there. So how does that affect the cost of the installation?
It used to be a bigger issue than it is now because the project managers are managing that.
Okay.
To make sure that when that crane rolls out, that electrification's being shipped, that rail is being on, we know now that they're going to be ready for us. We very rarely have a dry run anymore where our guys show up and the customer says, I'm not ready for you.
Is this Tuesday? Oh,
I don't know.
Now, but we have issues where they say, I absolutely have to have the crane by June the 25th. It's got to be there. And so we move things around in our production line and we're ready to go. And we call them up and say, okay, we're going to be there on Monday. And they say, well, we're not ready for you.
Right.
And
more often than you would think.
And then all of a sudden when you have your trailers sitting outside storing cranes that were supposed to be installed 2 weeks ago, then everybody starts to get a little touchy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, because then that affects.
There's a cost to store.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You got to rent equipment. You got to get.
Yeah.
And if you show up
store them out.
and the bay's not clear, I mean, you're
cover them,
still
you
paying
know,
all those guys. You're paying all the truck drivers the longer they stay there. You're paying the installers the longer it takes them to get started. You're down production in a bay that now has to get disassembled just to move so you can get your crane in. So it looks like a lot of it's front loaded stuff. It's up to the customer to really spend a lot of time mapping out everything and really paying attention to what you guys have to say.
It's the true planning and coordination with both the customer, with the project manager, and making sure that they're on the same page and they understand, hey, when you tell us you were going to be there, we're going to be there. So
up to the minute, almost communication.
Yeah.
Because there's been times where we're heading there and we call them and they're like, oh, we had this happen.
Yeah.
Honest mistake, but it's just something happened in the plan.
Yeah.
So you can't over communicate. I mean, you seriously cannot over communicate with them.
Here's something it's topical today. All the tariffs, that everything that's going on with the steel and the aluminum material. How does that affect, building a crane today? Is that increasing the cost? Our cost in terms of getting the material and.
Absolutely. So it's funny you bring that up because of the recent, changes in the way the steel market's been acting, right?
Yeah.
So you've had steel prices from the beginning of the year go significantly higher through the first 6 months. Well, and you can imagine when we are quoting some of these jobs, when you're trying to put a proposal together and you're working with them, it may take, you may quote it and it may take a month or two before they actually come through and make a decision. Well, in the meantime, steel's gone up 3% or 5%.
Sure.
Or a couple dollars a ton, and we may have 1,000 tons of steel. Who knows? I mean, there can be a lot of steel involved in a given project, and it can be significantly impacted just by the increase in steel prices. And we kind of even state that now, right? We're
Correct.
Putting that in our quotes
I've
just
seen
to
that,
kind of
yeah.
cover
Yeah,
ourselves.
due to the volatile market in steel, this quote can change suddenly because contrary to what salesmen tell you, when they tell you they need that quote done on Friday, they absolutely have to. There's been times when the customer hasn't bought the system for like a year later.
It's just a
Yeah.
little while.
And they want the price that was
price.
quoted at, and we have to explain to them on that little line it says, "See, we have the right to requote."
This was 2007, which was a great year.
Right.
However,
Right.
now we're
Right.
at
But the good thing
2018.
about that, the steel prices are published, so you can actually they
Oh,
can
cool.
see from this month. You can flat out show them. It's publicly
Yeah.
it's public information basically that
Yeah.
you can find it.
So you're not just marking up for the sake of marking it up. It's just you're
it's
going
we're
with it.
passing through that
It's
cost
it's the
increase.
cost.
Yeah.
Correct.
It affects you as much as it affects anybody
Absolutely.
else who's doing it.
Yeah, everyone would be under the same or have the same issue.
Yeah. So then let's say somebody had a quote and they just weren't really sure about it, or they're trying to figure out, to really understand some of the different costs. I mean, what do you recommend? Can they reach out to like their local sales rep and just honestly just ask for help to understand what's going on and maybe discuss some of the pricing? Or is it, once you quote them, it's up to them and their team to figure out if they're happy with the number or not?
Oh no. Ultimately, we want to sit down and go through the specifications of the equipment because they're not all the same.
Okay.
One crane does not fit all, and it's not every 5-ton crane is not identical. So we want to explain to them, and it's the sales guy's job, or even the project managers that'll go from time to time too with them, just kind of go through the specifications and why we chose a certain type of hoist or a certain set of end trucks or motors, just the little details of the quote, so they know what they're getting
Cool.
and why.
Yeah.
Is more importantly.
And I think that's my favorite part about talking about stuff like this with you guys, because it's never just about the money and trying to get it. It's always about you have a clear need. There's a reason that you want to buy an overhead crane. So this is more about a partnership to make sure that everybody benefits from this.
Oh, wow,
that we're doing
absolutely.
what we're doing. That this is going to solve whatever problem that you need solved, and that everybody understands exactly what's going on. It's all about transparency, which is the purpose of us doing this discussion to talk about the hidden costs. So we try to alleviate all that in the future.
Without a doubt. It does no one any good if we're not providing a good value to the customer, if we're not educating them. And there's very educated customers, and then there's some that really don't know that much about cranes and don't know what the hidden costs or some of these other items that they need to be considering. And that's our job, to make sure that we get them to that point where they know exactly why they're spending this money, exactly how long this, what they're going to get in return for this amount of money, because it's usually not a small amount. It's capital equipment, and they're expecting it to last a long time. We need to know how they're using it so we can make sure that they're aware of the pitfalls or the options that are out there for that specific application. It's a complicated industry, and sometimes it's dressed down to just be more commoditized, but it's far from being a commodity.
Wire ropes. Number one, probably most replaced item on a hoist, because they're side loading, they're overutilizing, and they're tearing up wire rope hoists, and it just drives the customer nuts until you send out a technician and they watch what they're doing and they say, got it. But that's a big cost, is wire ropes.
Oh yeah, well, and it's that leads me to say operator training. So
Sure.
they need to realize they need to spend some money to train their operators, because they're the ones running this expensive piece of equipment, not only for the safety reasons, which is ultimately number one, but just the cost, the way they operate that equipment, whether it's jogging it, like you said, side loading, shock loading. There's so many things that and there's a percentage, I can't recall it off the top of my head, but a large percentage of repairs and injuries are due to, improper operation, operator error of things.
Yeah.
Something that could be completely
But it's
avoidable.
very costly. It
Yeah.
can be very costly, not only to the crane, but to a piece of equipment that they may have there.
And let's talk about production downtime. What?
Without a doubt. So, they hopefully, if it's for production, obviously, that they're going to factor in what that downtime might be. And we need to know that as well. When we're walking through, we're going to try to find out how critical is this crane? Do you have a backup way to move whatever material you're picking with this? Do you have redundancy? If not, then it's important to know what happens when this crane's down for an hour, for a day. Because, with some parts, In some manufacturers, you may wait 12 weeks for a part, and obviously the crane can't be down there for 12 weeks, so they need to know that up front, that they might want to have some spare parts in inventory, and just what type of equipment they would want, so that their downtime can be minimized. I mean, they need to make sure it's specified right for their application too.
So it's education, and you can't stress it enough.
Cool.
Well, that's why we like to have these types of discussions. We hope that people find this and they watch it, and we'll release an audio version of podcast of this so you can listen to it. But that's why we do this, is we get the experts here and we talk about stuff like this and hope that we can better educate our customers and others in the industry.
And,
Sure.
and the one thing I want you guys to take away from this is a lot of the responsibility falls on you to vet your quote, to talk to your representatives, your project managers, the inspectors, the engineers, the salespeople that are in your life. Their job is to make sure that you understand exactly what you're getting, what it can do, what it can't do, and what to do if something is going wrong. But if you don't take the time to look at all that information, to talk to the people that are in your lives that do this professionally, you're setting yourself up for risk, for cost, for all kinds of things. And that's the complete opposite of what we want for you. That, like Mike said, is the purpose of all this stuff that we're making, so you can be more informed. So Todd, Matt, Mike, I really do appreciate your guys' time.
Appreciate it.
It's
Thank you.
a great
Thank you.
conversation.
Yeah,
So.
thank you.
Thank you for watching today's video. If you liked it, show us by hitting that thumbs up button right below this video player. And if you haven't already, there's a button that'll let you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way, you don't miss out on any future content that we make. And if you want to keep watching, there's a video player right above that that'll let you keep watching. Thanks.